Hey, welcome to the Intentional Mind Podcast. I'm your host, Ange Barnard. And today we are hearing from someone who has completely transformed their life, like improved every area of their life. So if you are someone who's like, I want to improve every area of my life, and you're always looking to improve, then you're going to want to hear how this went down for this person. So what I want you to listen for is the connection between what happened when she got really clear on her vision and the direction she wanted to take her life. Mind you, this was somebody that was already intentional with her life. In fact, most of my clients are that way. And so they are ambitious already, right? But this person taking it up to a level of the next level of like legit clarity around her vision, who she wanted to be, how she wanted to feel in her life. And the connection between understanding her energy more and where was that catabolic energy, as we call it, where was that showing up in her life, and how was it destructive to her success or preventing her from being the person she wanted to be. It's like when she got that, she's like, oh, I spot that and I don't want to show up that way. So she shifted that. So she's going to talk about that. And this person is Bonnie Singleton. Bonnie owns her own boutique marketing agency out of Colorado, and she is just killing it in her business. She really is, and I'm so freaking proud of her. But you're going to hear all about that as we chat. And we also talk about some of the hard things, that happen in our lives and how we really feel about our health or our friendships. And it's like a keep it real conversation. I wanted you to hear this because I know some of y'all are considering coaching and you're like, should I invest in getting a coach, or should I actually take the time to really clarify what it is I want? Should I take the time to understand my energy more? If you're wondering any of those things, this is going to answer that question for you, or at least give you the perspective of what happened when someone who was already successful, already intentional. If you see this girl's calendar and how she maps things out, you'd be like, dang, can you do my calendar for me? Because and in fact, a lot of my clients, when I do see their stuff, I'm like, what? This looks amazing. Like how they're setting things up. But then we take it to this whole other level and really focus on alignment. So anyways, where was I going with this? I just am excited for you guys to hear her story. And the other thing I want to talk about is, so Bonnie helped me, be more intentional with my marketing as well. So she actually helped me design my new site as I've rebranded some things and started focusing more on my speaking career. I was one of the, let's be real, the nightmare clients. I would say this. I know Bonnie wouldn't say that, but I was the one who wanted to change my mind a lot, and I was unsure, and I was still working on my vision and all of that stuff. So we worked through that, and it was just so good to be able to hear her expertise because she's very strategic, and she really, what I love about her, she thinks about how everything connects. Like it's not just about like creating a cool image or a cool site or anything like that. It's like, how does this all connect to your overall vision? She's thinking that way. And yeah, so it was really nice to be able to help each other with our own areas, of expertise and all that stuff. So that we win energy was there. And that's so important. I want you to think about this. If you're ever looking to invest in coaching or invest in a service, please consider the energy and the relationship you have with someone, because that's everything. Because I've worked with people in the past where it was like, I just felt like I couldn't really be my real self, like, I don't know, maybe that was my own junk showing up, but it's like, I didn't feel as comfortable with that person. But with Bonnie and I, it's like, we were already at like the higher energy together. We were both helping each other. And I find that that's the energy that I tend to be at with my clients, where they really trust me. They end up being like friends to me, for real friends. Like I can't wait to see them in the future. Where we have seen each other, met up somewhere. Like that's the kind of coach that I am. And I really see value in what the other person brings to the table. Like you're going to hear from some more of my clients who are just so wise, who like taught me so many things too. So it's not like a one-way street. And that we win energy, it's so good. It feels so good. That higher energy of like, we're in this together, we're helping each other, the service-oriented mindset we get each other, like that is a really good place to be in any kind of relationship. So with all that being said, before I get to Bonnie, I do gotta tell y'all like a reminder that I have an event coming up in October that I'm hosting with a group of other coaches. It's in Shipshewana, Indiana. It's October 20th weekend, that Friday. And that Friday and that Saturday. And then Sunday, we have a worship service that we're leading that is optional if anyone wants to attend. But we also have an awesome VIP option where on Saturday night, we are going to dinner together. You get a professional photo done because let's be real, a lot of people don't have a photo that's updated. Like I need to update my photos. So we're going to take care of that for you. We are having someone talk about personal branding, whether you have a business or not. It's all about how you represent yourself and also personal styling. That girl, Alicia, that's going to be there. Shout out to Alicia. Can you just dress me for the rest of my life, please? She is so intentional too. So I'm so excited about this event. And there's speakers all day that are all talking about intentionally designing your life, all areas of your life, the clarity piece, the mindset. There's fun surprises, the execution. We have speakers flying from all over the US to come to this event. And this event is so affordable, in my opinion. It is. I go to a lot of events, and this one is done at cost. It's not meant to make money. So you can come to the event all the time, all days, and even do VIP, and it's under with the discount code, it's like $250 or something for multiple days with VIP, with the dinner, with the swag bags, all the things. And then the hotel, we have a discount on the hotel, and this is in Amish country. It's in Shipshewana, Indiana. If you're not familiar or haven't been around the Amish community, you're going to see them with their buggies, riding around on the roads, and it's an area that a lot of people actually come to from all over to be in this environment. It's so peaceful. In fact, I was riding bikes for another event, and there was a bunch of people from Chicago that were around there from the city, and they were like, I just come here because it's just so refreshing to the soul. It's like you step back in time, and it's so peaceful. And I was like, yeah, like that. What a great place to have a retreat, because it's like peace, you know? And we have a long lunch break too. One of the days you get to go to all the little shops and experience things. It's going to be really fun, be very intimate. There's only 150 people that are going to be there. That's done very intentionally so we can get to know each other. It's going to be hype though. So I really would love for you to go. If you're just looking for an event, if you want to just step out of your comfort zone, come. I promise you it's going to be fun. And worth it. So I will put all the details in the show notes of this episode, so you can see, you can click and sign up and do all the things. If you have any questions about it, though, you can definitely email me at ange@angebarnard.com or ange at pick any word at angebarnard.com. It's going to go to me. Fun at angebarnard.com, whatever. Send me an email if you have any questions about the event. I would love to see you there. Okay, that's it. That's all the announcements. So we're going to get right to it. I'm going to start off basically like we do. Like we're going to ask that dreaded question that the tell me about yourself question. I actually just did a whole little speech about that, around how people just are like, I struggle answering that question. And then like, how do you answer that question? So either way, I'm starting off with it. Bonnie, tell us more about you.
Totally. Yeah. So like Ange said, I do own a boutique digital strategy agency, which really basically means like we create websites, social media campaigns, all the things online to really specifically meet customers where they're at and help them make an easy decision to buy with you. But personally and in business, like I really focus on having like a life first approach, both for myself and my team. And that kind of, to me, looks like having enough space in my schedule, in my life, in my mind to have a light and airy feeling. And to dive right into it, I wasn't feeling super light and airy when I first started working with Ange, and now I'm feeling much more easy breezy.
I love it. And Bonnie is someone who opens up like this is the kind of person who will show you their calendar and show you how like they've organized stuff. And you're like, dang, that's good. That's real good. Like you admire like the colors and like the intentionality behind it. Like that's how Bonnie shows up. So it was really cool to work with you because one, I felt like you taught me so many things about just being intentional in general too. And I remember how you were at the beginning, how you did feel like it was hard for you to even have fun or be playful. It was something that you often mentioned, like you took things so seriously. So tell me more about that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I was just in this place where like I was like intense. And that's always going to be a part of my personality. That's something that actually has served me sometimes. But I felt like it was getting to this point where like my friends maybe like weren't having a super fun time with me because I was always like, how are you going to achieve your dreams? Like, what are we doing? You know, like I was always asking like the hard questions and wasn't like feeling jokey or fun. And I was feeling really stressed at work. I wasn't really like enjoying work, to be honest, like at all. I was just feeling kind of like dark and dreary in a lot of the areas in my life. Um,
Yeah.
so
Did you feel
yeah,
like it
stressed.
was that, you know, how when you get stressed, it's like that control-y part of us comes out
Yes.
where it's like we want to try to control everything. Like that was showing up, causing the intense.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It was like very much like, I want this now, nothing like, and then like when it wasn't happening as fast or as I planned, I was feeling like very much like so frustrated because like I had this well laid out plan and then like turns out like I'm not in charge of the universe. And it wasn't like I wasn't having fun with it. I wasn't like taking things as they came.
Yeah. And what's interesting is you obviously are an entrepreneur. You do very, very well at your whole business. And you created that for yourself, you know, because I think a lot of times people think then with entrepreneurship, then it's going to feel so amazing, right? You're doing it, you're in control of all those things. But that's not always the case, right? Obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think like a lot of my friends who have like traditional like 9 to 5 jobs are very much like, oh, you live the dream. And they're always like, I'm gonna like go off and do this thing. And like, I love being my own boss. I love having my business. I wouldn't have it any other way, but it is not like work from the beach. It's not always like, oh, like I can just control when I get a new client or when leads are coming in, or now that I have a team, like what they're doing necessarily, or, you know, and so it's definitely not like this like nomadic, like roses and daisies life that I think we see a lot on TikTok and Instagram. It's serious and like there's like a lot of pressure to like make sure that you can pay yourself, to make sure that you can pay your team, to make sure that your clients are happy. And it is like more like a 9 to 5 than I think people really expect because ultimately if you're in a service-based business, like you're always answering to someone, even if it's just yourself.
Yeah, definitely. And there's a lot of things that you're managing. You're playing a lot of different roles, you know, wearing a lot of different hats, and people depend on you. So it brings this whole level of stress. So it would make a lot of sense that you were feeling stressed at the beginning and you were feeling like what you had thought you wanted, you weren't moving as fast to get that thing as you wanted to. And what we realized was a lot of that had to do with the energy that was there. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think like the key thing, we did like a energy assessment and like the key like thing is like, and Angie, you'll have to help me because the numbers like elude me. But when things are going great, like I approach life like naturally at like about a 5, which I think is like problem solving
Yeah.
mode, like a we win.
Hmm.
But when I'm feeling stressed or angry or any negative emotion, I show up at a place of avoidance. Like I just like throw my hands in the air. I'm like, I'm out, I'm done, I'm not even doing this. And obviously when you run a whole business, just avoiding it or avoiding the difficult clients or the difficult conversations isn't going to put you on the fast track to your goals.
Definitely. And that's what everything in life, it's like avoidance isn't going to get you where you want to go. But for a lot of us, that's our default under stress is we go to the one and we start to withdraw and disengage or avoid. And that's also where we feel that tenseness. And it's hard for us to be in that playful state because our energy is low. We're at the one. And it always makes perfect sense. But once you got that awareness around the energy, because we did the energy assessment, which is always a part of my one-on-one coaching process, what did that really do for you once you became more aware?
Well, I think that paired with like our like goals and visioning exercise, like when you look at my vision, like my vision board, like a lot of my I am statements, it's like so clear like where I was. Cause like there are like two or three that invent like that mention like I want to be joyful. I want to be present and relaxed. Like
Hmm.
I want to feel free. Like there's so many words where you could see that like that's like so totally where I wasn't. And so it helped me just make really intentional decisions. I think probably like the most like applicable um example would be I signed this huge client. It was like 7 accounts in one. And pretty quickly, it started to feel pretty difficult. Um, just just rough. And so my immediate thing was like, I'm firing them. I was just like, I'm not doing it. We're not like, I'm out. Like, I was just like so much ready to like throw in the towel. Um, but instead, because I knew that I had this like avoidance tendency, I was like, no, you know what? I'm not like going to run from this. So we met and we had like a realignment client or a realignment meeting. And kind of, I was like, these are the systems, these are the processes, here are my expectations, what are your expectations, et cetera, et cetera. And ironically, ultimately, I still ended up letting that client go because they just couldn't follow the system. But I wasn't doing it from a place of like, I hate you. I'm not doing this. You guys are losers.
Yeah.
I could never. It was more of a place like, look, like this just isn't, this is a misalignment. Like, no big deal, no harm, no foul. But like, I'm not going to waste your time. I'm not going to waste my time. I just don't think that this is going to work out. Um,
Yeah. You left it
which
from a
was
higher energy and you felt so much
exactly
better about it. Cause at first you got, instead of withdrawing and disengaging, which you noticed that a part of yours, like you noticed that tendency, it showed up and you're like, oh, there it is. Because I know that we talked about this. I tend to default to this, but I know that's not going to serve me. So instead you're like, what can I do? And you went into the solution focused mindset. And then from there, which would have been 3 energy, and then you shifted to let's how do we make this work best for both of us? And let's talk about what both of our needs are. And then when you ended up talking, you're like, okay, well, clearly we're not aligning here. So it's best for both of us to part our ways. And it felt so good to approach it from that place, right?
Yeah, totally. It was definitely like, and also it felt like so much like I wasn't burning a bridge. Like I wasn't, you know, it
Mm-hmm.
just felt really like, oh yeah, okay, like great. Like it did. It just felt like so much more peaceful.
I love that you said I wasn't burning a bridge because I hear that so often from my other clients as well. Is like when they want to leave a situation that they know isn't serving them, it's like they always say things like, I was so happy that I didn't have to burn that bridge and I could leave on a good note because they're like, my old self would have been like withdraw, disengage, avoidance, or leave really pissed off and
Right.
bitter.
Light it on fire.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like that doesn't serve you. And I think about times in my life where I'm like, man, I wish somebody would have talked to me about this energy stuff because I kind of regret how I showed up in that situation. And I wish I would have done it from a higher energetic place.
Totally. And I think like if you want to go to like a God place or an energy place with it, like I let that client go, which again was like 7 accounts. So it was going to be a ton of work and they had negotiated me way down. And really shortly after, like less than 30 days, I got a lead for my biggest contract ever, which has been a much better fit. And it was 2 accounts at the exact same price point. So
Ooh,
it was
I
just,
love it.
it was just like letting like and I from a client perspective like as an entrepreneur like it is so hard to let go of those big clients because you're just like oh like that's like a ton of money like that I could hire somebody with that I could get coaching with that
Yeah.
but I found that like every time I've like let go of a client because it was just a rocky relationship something better has always come at the same or a higher price point in a really beautiful way.
Oh, I love that. And I think it has everything to do with the energy around it. Because instead of going to scarcity, because if you were at the lower energetic place, you would have been like, oh, I got to make this work. Even though I hate this, it's not working out well. Like, I got to find a way because this brings me money and I need that money. And it's like, that's the lower energy. But when you're like, you shifted up to that higher space and you're like, okay, we will part our ways. And I trust that things will work. Things will be worked out for me. And it's like you went up in the shifts. And this is what I want people to hear. It's not like immediately like you had a bad experience with a client and you were like, all is well. Everything's gonna work out for me. Like it didn't go immediately there, right? You did the
No,
shifting in increment up, and then you got to that point where you were like, well, I trust all things will work out. And then bam, like a new, opportunity comes in with only 2 accounts paying you as much as the 7 accounts. It's like that stuff when you were living in alignment. Like that's what it looks like when you live in alignment, when you can do this energy stuff, things happen for you. And I think a lot of people don't talk about the energy stuff in this way, but it's so important because it's not just about having the vision and getting clear around that. It's also about aligning your energy with your vision,
100%. Yeah. And I do, and like from like the joy and stuff, like even like being able to self correct like your energy spectrum, like being able to self correct, like even in small stuff, even if I'm just like waking up in the morning, I'm like, I don't want to do this, being able to be like, no, like I generally like my life. Like, yeah, maybe I'm grumpy today, but like
Yes.
knock it off, being able to like use these tools and having like language around it, even if it's just internal language, has been like a game changer.
Yeah, that's what it's done for me too. Cause I'm just thinking about yesterday. I woke up and I was like total one energy. Like I was like,
Yeah.
I'm wanting to avoid everything. Like I don't want to do any of the work today, like low energy, all the things. And I was like, okay, I see you. I see you one energy. And then I had to like think about like, okay, well, what's going well here? What are you grateful for? What like I was working on shifting the energy that was there. And it was because I was aware that I was defaulting to the one. And then I was thinking of the higher levels. What are characteristics of the higher levels? What does that look like? Like and it's like coaching yourself. Like we need to do that. So I feel like it's really helpful as a tool to give language and to spot things and then intentionally
To-
shift when you want to. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I think like that paired with like the be act have recipe that you help us with and the vision board, like also like it really allowed me to like identify like this is how I want to feel. Like another big goal that like was stressing me out so bad from so many points in my life, both personally, professionally, everywhere, was like money. I was just stressed about money. And my like vision board, my I am statement is like I'm intentional with my money, and money gives me a sense of freedom and ease. And I'm not really sure how to explain what happened, except for that I look at it every day. I have it as my like computer background, all my little visions. And I actually this year took a personal pay cut so I could prioritize spending in the business. Um, but somehow like my day-to-day spending and stuff like being intentional with my money, I feel way less broke than I did at the beginning of the year. And it
Yes.
allowed me to make better decisions.
Yes. It's like that when you do the work around the I am statements, and for if you haven't been listening to the show for a while, maybe you're like, what are we talking about? A part of my coaching process is we after you clarify your vision, you do this work around your energy assessment, you start to understand energy better, you clarify your vision, and then you create what's called a Be Act Have recipe, where you create identity statements related to that vision or it's also mixed in the vision process, but regardless, you create identity statements related around who you want to be. So it's like I am like Bonnie was talking about, I'm intentional with my money. And it's like you start to train your brain to be that person. And one of the ways that you do it is like Bonnie has an example where she has it up in front of her. She sees it on a regular basis, this constant reminder to be this kind of person. And then you subconsciously start behaving as that person and even consciously. And then things start to happen in your life that aligns with that identity. And you start to see more proof of you becoming that person. And that's an example of what Bonnie was talking about. She became much more intentional with her money, the way she ran her business, how you got a financial advisor. Because you were thinking about, I'm always like asking my clients, well, what can you do that aligns with that vision? And then you start thinking, you're like, well, I definitely need to hire a financial advisor so I can figure that out. And then what was really cool, Bonnie, is like, I know that the money was a thing for you where like the scarcity stuff was showing up initially. But once you started declaring I'm intentional with my money and you started acting like that person, then another opportunity came that also brought you, well, one, lots of opportunities came as far as your business growth. We've seen a lot of growth in that space. But then even another opportunity that you didn't think of ended up showing up in your life. And that also brought with it triggered some of the lower energy stuff too, that we also had to work through. But can you tell us a little bit about what I'm talking about here?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm totally comfortable. So my grandfather passed away in June, which was like obviously a bummer, like it was
Right.
rough, but I inherited kind of a lot of money, like a game-changing amount of money for me. And it caused a pretty big falling out with my mom, which we can kind of circle back to that here in a second, which that's kind of the lower energy. However, like with my money goals, my I am statements, with instead of like, I just got engaged, like I don't own a house, like there were all these things that I could have done. I could have blown it all on a wedding easy. I could have put it all into a down payment. But the first thing I did was I paid off some debt I had, instead of like having like a big fancy wedding, because I felt every day in the back of my mind, like, oh gosh, I have this debt. Oh gosh, this is so embarrassing. Like I'm better than this. Like it was the key thing that was making me feel not easy breezy with my money, not abundant. So the first thing I did was pay that off. But with the rest, like I still could have done all those things I talked about. But instead, the first thing I did was I reached out to a financial advisor, because I'm like, how do I make this money like continue to help me feel abundant and at ease and work
Mm-hmm.
for me, instead of just being like, yeah, like of course, who wouldn't want like a nice house in the part of town that they've always dreamed of? And that's still a priority, but not my top priority. Like I could get a fixer upper and fix it up. I'm finding other ways I can have a super intimate wedding, with the things that I truly care about, and be more intentional, instead of, getting the super expensive venue. Do something that still feels great and I'm still super excited about, but like aligns with my whole life. Um, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love this so much, because what you're saying here is that because you had a vision of who you wanted to be, and you had these statements, like this creed, as I call it, your I am statements of how you want to show up in the world, that led to you taking intentional action. So when that money did come to you and you were blessed with that, you're like, okay, well, what's in alignment with my vision is to be intentional with it. That means I would talk to an advisor, I would pay off that debt, and you did this in so many areas of your life. Since we've done the vision, it's like you are legit being her. Like I literally have the chills right now thinking about it, because it's like it's helped you so much in being intentional. And you were already a person that was, I would say, intentional, but that this whole process just took it to a whole other level. And now you're showing up and you actually, like, I see you compared to when we first started working together, like when you were like, I'm intense. I know, like, I'm not like,
It's a
what,
lot.
play, have fun. What is that? And then now it's like, you're just so playful and you're having so much fun. And it's like, I know that business growth has happened. I know like all these other areas you've grown in, but like, what a blessing that you just freaking feel good?
Totally. Yeah. And I think like, I mean, obviously, like I keep reverting back to business because it's like my whole life. Like I love my business, but like this also applies in my personal relationships. But like I've found like in my client meetings, in my time with my um, friends, like we're laughing more. We're like talking about stuff, and even if we're talking about deep stuff, like we're still laughing and coming
Mm-hmm.
like and leaving feeling light, instead of being like, God, like she really poked and prodded at my relationship or my goals or whatever. It's
Yeah.
more like, oh my gosh, how fun. Like we're talking about like problem solving, and like, yeah, like rough stuff happens, but here's what we're doing about it. Here's what could
Yeah.
come of
It's
it,
all that higher
etc.
energy stuff that's like happening. So it's like, so tell us a little bit about, let's go through each area about like how things have
Yeah,
improved in each area.
perfect.
So let's go with your health. We'll start there and then we'll kind of like make our way around.
Yeah. So I have always like, I was kind of not before I started working with Ange. This has been like a journey my whole life, but like in college and whatever, I was like not the wellness girly. I was like so proud that I could like drink with the boys. I was so proud that like I could eat cheeseburgers, and I always have like had been like relatively small, but like never fit, never strong.
Mm-hmm.
And I like kind of like turned up my nose at that. And then over since like 2020, like we didn't have anything else to do. I got into working out. But when I started working with Ange, I was like, I want to intuitively feel healthy. I felt like I was doing it, and I was like, I was proud that I was doing it, but I wasn't enjoying it. I was like, oh, I have to eat healthy all week. And then on the weekends, I'd be like, let's rage, let's get cheese curds, let's get cheeseburgers, like, let's drink, you know? And I just didn't feel good.
Mhm.
So since I've been working with Ange, I have dropped a pant size, which is like, I mean, maybe it's a little vain, but like it's dope. Like I'm so excited about
Yes.
it.
Oh my goodness. I'm excited for you. Yeah, because and then the other
um,
thing too is like that's hard to do too when you are already someone who is smaller. Like that's more significant
totally,
difference overall based on like your overall weight, to drop a full pant size for someone who is already small to most
totally.
people's
And like I
standards.
stopped like lifting weights at home in my dark living room, and I started like going to Pilates, which not only, and I almost completely quit drinking compared to the way I was, and that was kind of a relationship and a fitness thing. I just knew intuitively like I didn't feel good. My skin was rough for the first time in my life. I knew that this would make it be a game changer, but I felt so much weirdness around it from a relationship standpoint. But to the wellness side, like I just found things I liked and I looked forward to, and getting out of my house because I work from home and being around people, like it made me not want to go out as much because I'd already kind of fulfilled myself that way. And I found a movement that I was like so stoked to do. Um,
Yeah. It was like
and
intuitive. You
like
weren't forcing things anymore and it felt so much
totally.
better.
And as far as the eating side, which I feel like was like the roughest part, like I didn't have good habits around it. Like Ange said, like it was like so obvious can't even handle it, but I needed someone to say it to me out loud. Um, that like I was like, oh, I just like binge on sweets. Like I like I like whatever. And she was like, okay, well, why don't you prep some healthy snacks for you? And she didn't say it like this. Like she would never be condescending. But like for me, I'm like, yeah, someone should have said this to me. She's like, why don't you just prep some healthy snacks that are sweet and just have it in the fridge so it's like an easy decision? And I was like, great idea. I'll do that. And like
Yeah, you feel so
doing
much
those
better
things.
about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, cause I can binge on sweets if it's like, which whatever, I'm a nerd, but it's like black beans mixed with raw cacao and like a little bit of honey. Like it's clean. I don't
Yes.
feel bad about it. Like it's a great source of protein. It's a great source of fiber, whatever. And in so many ways, like my cooking, like instead of meal prepping for the whole week, which I low key hate, it's like so much work. I just make a big recipe on Monday and Tuesday and then just eat it the rest of the week. And I literally don't mind eating the same thing over and
Oh,
over
me
again.
either. I don't either. If
I'm,
it's really good, who
yeah,
cares? And
yeah,
sometimes you get on kicks,
exactly.
you want the same thing every day for a while.
Right.
But I gotta say too, like side note is I'm all about I know I'm gonna eat the sweet stuff. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make healthy options for me to eat that because I know I'm gonna have those cravings and stuff like that. So most recently, have you seen those date bars that have been like trending
Yeah.
online? I made some of those when you like flatten out the dates on the wax paper and then you can pour like peanut butter or almond butter and then like your nuts and then you can put I add flax and like chia seeds and stuff like that on there, but the normal recipes don't. And then I put like the dark chocolate drizzled on the top and then you just have it cold. Oh my
Oh my
goodness, is
God.
that freaking good? I just want to say.
That sounds fire. Like,
Yes. So if you're thinking of options, but what I love is that you really like now it's like you're just intuitively healthy. Like it's like it was easy for you really to drop the pant size
it
because
really
you
was. Like it was like I was working on it for what, nearly 2, 3 years before we started working together. And I've seen like marginal change, like marginal. And now it's like I feel like the weight has just melted off, which is so annoying if you for to hear someone say if you've been like working at it for 3 years, like, oh my God, shut up, Bonnie. But because I like just integrated it into my lifestyle and I found a way that like didn't it didn't feel like a grind for me. Like it was really like, oh my gosh, like I don't know when this happened, but sweet.
yeah, and that I'm so glad you're saying this because the work that we do and the way that I coach is very different than the way other people coach because I really focus on training your mind and I really focus on your subconscious. And I promise you guys, I know for some of y'all, like this sounds like so crazy woo, but I promise you, when you do that work of the mind training, it's other things just align for you. And it's like, well, wow, that was a lot easier because maybe before you didn't focus on training the mind. and you just focus on the results of things. And then you're just dealing with the conscious part of your mind, and the subconscious is always going to win. If the identity doesn't align, you're always going to cave eventually, into what you've normally already been doing. So you have to do that other training work. And that's when you're like, I'm an intuitive, eater, that kind of stuff. Like you were training subconsciously, and then you start behaving as so, and it really does become easier.
Totally. And I have the best tip for anyone who's like, how do I like become this person? I don't even think Angie and I have talked about it, or like, you talk a lot about like surrounding yourself with people who live this lifestyle. And I just haven't really been able to do that in real life. But what I've done is, well, first preface this with, I am like so obsessed with TikTok. It influences all my decisions. It is my life. I'm a digital strategy girly. I do social media for a living. Of course it does. But I trained my algorithm on TikTok to only give me the kind of content that supported my goals. So
ooh, I love that.
If something came up that was like selling an Amazon project, I'd just swipe right away. I wouldn't look at it. And if something came up that was like healthy recipes, or a lot of it was mindset stuff, I'm pretty woo. And so a lot of it was like these wellness girlies or these manifestation girlies. And not all of it I align with, but if it did, I would save it. I would like it. And I would hit the share button. I wouldn't even necessarily send it to anybody. But that way the algorithm was like, oh my gosh, this girl is obsessed with these things. And now TikTok isn't a place where I feel like I have to spend, which is very important, or a place where I feel like I'm comparing. It's just supporting
your vision. Oh, it's so intentional. Perfect example of using social media to help you bring that vision into reality, to train your brain to be that person.
Yeah.
Because like otherwise
TikTok feels like TikTok feels like a vision board now.
Yeah. Ooh, I love it. Because otherwise it's like you're reacting to what's on there. It's like you're not conscious of it, and it's actually training you versus you being intentional about using the information to train yourself. It's like it's this level of intentionality versus you being marketed at. You're deciding what you want to be
totally
and planted into the subconscious. It's so cool because otherwise marketers are doing that to you with their own agenda. But if you decide, hey, this is all I want in there.
Totally.
Yeah, that's such a great way to take it to the next level, your vision.
Yeah, I also did it with my podcast as well. Like, I mean, I do, like, I'm a pop culture girly. Like, that is like for fun. That's like my easy breezy. I classify it as that. But then I subscribed to like 3 or 4 wellness podcasts, and some of them I didn't like, but I have those. I have like the mindset podcast, I have the marketing podcast, but I unsubscribed from anything that I felt was like too beauty related, because that's a really easy way for me to spend my money, beauty and fashion. And just really curated what I was listening to every day as well, to support those I am statements.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you thought about like the listening to the beauty stuff that was causing you to be unintentional with your money. So that didn't align with the vision. So what I want people to hear is that when you get clarity around your vision, then you know what actions to take. Then you can be intentional with your time and your energy and whatever you feed into your mind. But it starts with like that vision, and it was you being intentional. Like that intentionality came from the vision, is what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah.
So, okay. So how that improved, tell us about your career. Because I know you wanted to make a lot of improvements there. What changed for you?
Yeah. Well, quite frankly, I feel like Pollinate Marketing is like popping off. It's just like we're having the best year. And honestly, like what like people are saying, like as far as like a recession and this and that, like I'm very blessed to say like that hasn't really happened to our little business. And I feel like it has a lot to do with I showed up joyfully to a lot of places. And so I'm getting more referrals. I'm getting more word of mouth. I'm more effective because I'm in a place of creativity and fun.
Yes.
So I think we'll likely in 2024 double our revenue from 2022, which is a really big deal. I'm hiring a new team member. And like, honestly, like, I just like it. Like, I just genuinely am like excited to show up to my meetings. I'm excited to like benefit my clients. I just am having fun.
Yes, funny because if you think about what you said initially, it's like you were dreading all of it, And now it's like you're
Yes.
having fun. You're about to double your income that you had just in 2022. Like, this is the stuff, y'all, that you need to hear is that when it comes to alignment, what happens when you do this very intentional work around looking at your energy, getting clear around your vision, because tell us about your identity statement when it came to your career. What was that identity statement?
It was. I am a leader and a visionary within my business. And then I have just one team member. So, like the little pictures, it's like a boss with 3 team members, a boss like holding a cup that says like world's best boss with like lipstick on it.
I love it.
So I really wanted, I felt like my business was just kind of like happening. Like it was going great.
Happening
Like, don't get
to
me wrong,
you in a
but it was
sense.
just like, exactly. And I really wanted to be in the driver's seat as much as possible, which like we talked about being controlling and stuff. So it's like kind of a fine line, that difference. But like I wanted to have dedicated time where I was like, this is where I want my business to go. This is what I want it to feel like. This is what I want it
Intentional
to look.
versus controlly energy, which is different
Exactly.
kinds of energy. One is anabolic and one is catabolic.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then you ended up hiring some, or you're in the process right now of
Oh,
hiring additional team members.
yeah. And we did hire some contractors to help me get through when we signed that big client that I ultimately parted ways with. But I kept the contractors, even though money was a little bit tight. And that was so I could have the time to be that leader and that visionary. And now we're in a place where we're in the process of hiring full time. And again, like so that I can continue to be that leader and the visionary while I do client delivery. It's kind of finding that balance and teaching my team how to kind of fill in those roles where I need the space to be the boss and make sure the systems are in place and
Yeah.
make sure they have job security and benefits and a fun time,
So
and
you're
know what they're
becoming,
doing.
yeah, you're becoming the visionary and the leader that you had envisioned for yourself. Like, this stuff is coming
Mm-hmm.
to you now. One more area I want you to tell us about is your relationships, like that are though for with those that are closest to you. How has that improved?
Yeah. So I kind of touched on how like I wanted to quit drinking and I was like feeling so weird about it. And this like really played into my relationships because I wasn't feeling weird like, oh my gosh, like I can't get through a day without a drink. But I was showing up places and being like, I'm not going to drink today. Or I was texting people ahead of time and being like, yeah, sure, I want to get together. I'm happy to meet you for happy hour, but I'm just not going to drink. And then my friends would be like, you're not? And cool, chill, like no big deal. But like I was taking that on as my own stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I quit. I mean, I still drink a little bit, but like I was going to happy hour like a lot, 5 nights a week, easy. And I wasn't like getting drunk, but that's just like a lot. It's a lot of money, it's a lot of time
Yeah.
to do something that you don't want to do, that you don't care about. Um, and granted, like I've had a couple of people fall off, but I'm comfortable with that because now like my core friends, my like LOL 3 friends are like on board and like tonight I'm like meeting a friend to go for a walk with my cute little dog and it's gonna be delightful. I'm doing things that also that kind of supports my fitness goal, but I'm doing
Yes.
things that feel good, but also I'm leaving those interactions feeling like truly seen. Like then when I did start showing up and I wasn't drinking, quite frankly, like my friend's fear was like, oh, well, you're not going to have fun or you're going to think I'm boring because you're not drinking. And it's hard because, like, no, of course, that's not true. I love you. It literally doesn't matter if I'm not drinking. But also, kind of, it is true if you're hanging out with misaligned people because you're like, this is boring and stupid. Why am I here? When, like, there isn't the alcohol
Yeah.
to, like, fake, falsify the energy. So I'm leaving feeling like fulfilled and seen and known. And I know that my friends are too, based on the fact that they want to hang out more. And I just feel closer to them and you can just get the
Yes.
vibe. That's
That has gone, because I remember that was the thing for you when we first started chatting. It was like, oh, I don't want to be drinking. And you felt like you weren't be authentic to who you were. And now it's like you feel like you're authentically yourself. Your relationships have improved. So what I wanted you guys to hear was all around, and Bonnie just got engaged. So like all around, all of these things have improved. And so if you're interested in one-on-one coaching, definitely reach out because there's a very intentional process that we go through. But with that said, Bonnie, is there anything else that you just feel like is on your heart that you want to share? Anything else before we end our session before we end the podcast?
Yeah, I mean, I just really think that everyone should do this. Like, I really think like whether I think one-on-one coaching is like the best for me because also like I would come to our sessions and I'd be like, I don't know, this thing's bothering me. And Ange would like 10 out of 10 be like talk me through it in a way that was like really applicable, like difficult conversations, etc. And now our coaching is coming to a close, but I'm like so ready to take on my life. And also I can always be like, Ange,
Yes.
I need a refresh if I need to in
Yes.
a year or 6 months.
Yeah, and like I'm always here, and it's like I want people to hear that too. You show up as your real self. Like I will tell you, I don't know if I've ever worked with a client that that has not once cried during a session. Like came in and been like, "Hey," when you start the call,
Yeah,
because it's like
exactly.
it's life. Like that is how life is. And it's all this stuff of like working through all that stuff together and working through that energy stuff, check in ourselves to see how we align with that vision. And at the end of the day, what matters most is how you feel. That's why you do everything that you do. So if you're feeling off or you feel like you're not moving forward in your life in the way that you want to, like the quality of your life depends on you working through that stuff. Like you don't want to be on your deathbed, like I always say, with regrets or feeling like crap because you didn't do the things on your heart or you let yourself continuously stay in that low energy cycle. Like get the help that you need, like get the support so that you can feel good about your life. So good. Thanks so much, Bonnie, for being on the show. I love you so much. I'm so grateful. If anyone wants to follow Bonnie in general or her work, I'm going to put all of her info into the notes section. But in a nutshell, where can we find you on Instagram, Bonnie?
Yeah, my Instagram is just at Pollinate Marketing and my website's pollinatemarketing.com.
Yes. And if you need help with any marketing stuff, anyone, I'm telling you, this girl is so strategic. One of the most strategic people I've ever talked to when it comes to business and marketing. And she's just fun, obviously a delight to work with. So highly recommend. All right. So quick recap. You heard Bonnie's story and how she really feels about all the things. And I want you to think about you and how you really feel about all the things. What is draining your energy the most? And a lot of times this is the thing, like when you go to sleep and it's like your mind is racing or you're just thinking about X thing. What is that? Because I bet you whatever the thing is that you're thinking about when you're going to sleep, I bet you there's some catabolic energy around that thing, the way that you perceive that thing, or there's some stuck resistant energy about that thing. And you know what that thing is. So, I mean, I'm just thinking of my thing when I like what kept me up last night, what I was thinking about and how why is that showing up for me? There's a lot of avoidance energy there. That's a very common thing I see with people. Procrastination around that thing, all of that stuff. Avoiding the hard stuff, you know what I'm talking about. And my next question is then, what are you going to do about it? Because if that energy is festering there, it's affecting all the other things. So what are you going to do about it? Do you need help with clarifying that vision? Do you need help with shifting some things around? Like all of that stuff. Like what do you need? You know what you need. And maybe that is just sitting down and like taking the time to really think about what it is that you desire. What is holding you back? Like actually taking the time to sit down and think about that in itself might be really helpful. What do you need? Only you know that. All right. I hope you have the best day and I will talk to you soon. Bye.